Hey everyone, welcome to Happy Threads Girl. My name is Wanda and I am your guide here on the channel. I do want to first welcome you for spending a little bit of your time with me, and I know this is going to be a lengthy video. This channel is for adult collectors and fans. I do talk about some topics that are pretty heavy, so not appropriate for children. I've been collecting American Girl dolls since 2017. My first doll came to me as a gift, and it has grown into something I could have never predicted. So not only do I have a lot more dolls than I ever would have thought, I have a very big community. I am been so lucky to have made so many good friends through this hobby. It just continues to inspire me to be more creative and to share my own stories as I hear your stories. And I love that about this hobby, and the fact that it brings out the creativity I feel in so many of us. And I'm always more inspired by people than I could have ever even imagined. I love to see what people are doing with their dolls and their collections and how they are displaying them and the photo shoots that they're doing and just all the wonderful creative things that I've seen and been part of, and just so lucky, so fortunate. So I do want to be able to maybe help inspire some other people and thank those that have inspired me. So that's part of what I'm here to do today. So the collection did grow. The biggest growth was ever in 2019. I did add 12 dolls at that point in time. That was the most I've ever added in one particular year. The channel, my collection did slow down in the years since then for lots of reasons. And so parts of those were just, life was not always being kind to me during those times. So that's part of the things that probably aren't okay to have kids talk about. But anyway, it is what it is. So I'm going to first start out that I did break up my collection into 6 parts. So I can break this up into 2 smaller parts. So the 6 categories I have labeled are historical, create your owns, girl of the year, truly me's, contemporary characters, and custom dolls. So those are my 6 categories that we'll be covering. So sit back. You may need to get a beverage or 2 to get through all of this because I talk a lot. This is my Caroline doll. I only have a Caroline doll. I have no other pieces of her collection, and I probably won't be adding any of them. If I did have an historical doll that I was selling, it would be her, and she probably is most likely going to be either sold or turned into a custom doll. I just haven't made up my mind with her yet, so I don't have anything else to say about her other than she was purchased from Facebook Marketplace, and like I said, she's just currently a placeholder. And this is my Josefina Montoya, and Josefina was gifted to me by a friend who's not a doll collector, but just a very dear friend. Her daughter had outgrown her doll collection, and they went through the collection and put some away for her daughter for later, but then Josefina was just one that they didn't want to keep anymore for storage reasons, and so it was passed on to me. Josefina has had her head replaced. I wasn't able to fix her hair, and so I have kind of just left her in her pristine braid, and I love that about her. And Josefina is definitely very dear to me because of being gifted, and then also she really does embody my friend in a lot of ways. My friend is very caring, very nurturing, very loving and gentle, and so I will always think of my dear friend who's not a doll collector, but a very dear friend who gifted this wonderful doll to me. And this is Kit Kittredge, and Kit Kittredge is special to me because she was also gifted to me. Kit was gifted to me by another friend who is a doll collector who has a wonderful and extremely incredible collection. I love her collection so much. At some point in time, I'm going to try to convince her to share her collection on my channel, or just share her collection. She's a very private person, so let's cross our fingers. But her collection is wonderful. And so I was visiting with her in 2018, as I was a very early collector, and I had told her that I really, really wanted to add Kit to my collection because she looks so much like my mom, and I just loved Kit for that reason. And so as we were leaving that day, she handed me a Kit doll and said, "Here, take her." And I said, "Oh, I can't take her." And she goes, "Nope, I want you to have her." So it was a really nice surprise. And so Kit is special for many reasons, because she was a gift from a great friend who I made through doll collecting. And she is also looks just like my mom did as a child. And I'll put a picture in here showing what my mom looked like as a child. So anyway, see, Kit is definitely a keeper. Next, I have Molly McIntyre, and Molly McIntyre is a special doll to me. I will say I've had a couple different versions of Molly. This is my current version, and the one I've kept the longest, and she is the Costco Molly, and I do love her very dearly. I like the slimmer body for her for some reason. This one just has been more appealing to me than some of the other Mollys, and the fact that her braids are in good condition, and she's got this very sweet face. So this particular Molly is very special. But Molly, though my mother looked like Kit, she grew up in World War II as a kid. So her age lined up really well with what Molly's age would have been. And that's part of my mission statement, as you will, for my doll collection, is that it will help tell the stories of the women in my life, of their childhoods. So that's what Molly's role will help tell some of those stories. But just, who does not love Molly, the original brat? And next we have Emily, and Emily was purchased from Facebook Marketplace on a day where I was having a particularly really crummy day, and I opened up Facebook Marketplace and saw someone was selling 3 dolls, and the price was a little higher than I would normally pay, but because I was in a crummy mood, I purchased the dolls and didn't realize until I got home what bad condition poor little Emily was. So she has been sent to the doll hospital for a replacement body, because her body was in very bad shape. But Emily is in my collection for twofold, because actually more than that. So Emily's in my collection for many reasons. I love her red hair and her blue eyes, so she stays for that reason. She stays largely because she is part of the Molly collection. And thirdly, I have a very secret love of her because, not secretly, I don't know why I'm saying that, but I have a love of her because she is from England, and I am a big Anglophile. I love all things English. Maybe not all the food, but most things I really do love about England. I've been lucky to be there a couple times and have really enjoyed my experiences there, and I'm obsessed with the British royal family, so that is why we have an Emily doll for so many reasons. Next, we have Melody Ellison, and Melody came in my collection in 2019, the heyday year of my collection, and she was from the Madison's Children Museum. They had a slumber party there at the museum the night before the benefit sale, and I went to that, and you received a Melody doll as part of that ticket. And Melody represents the fun and excitement of that benefit sale to me. Plus, then she also really is special in the fact of she really brings something that I'm very strong and passionate about, is civil rights, and that statement and that story into being. And she will also hold that role in my own storytelling of civil rights, justice, and how we can all be part of that. So Melody will always be part of my collection. And next up, we have Julie Albright. Julie Albright was not my first doll, but she is my spirit doll. I was a child. I was a kid in the 70s, and I love everything about Julie's collection. I feel like it has been taking my childhood and put it into miniaturized it. So her bicycle is almost identical to a bicycle that I had. Julie is, like I said, very special, and all of those things that she also brings into my storytelling. She represents my own childhood in many ways. So though I came from a 2-parent home, but there are pieces of her story that can overlap. But who does not love you a Julie doll? And I do. And of course, if we have Julie, we have to have Ivy, because Ivy is part of Julie's world, and she's part of my world too, because I love the diversity that she brings into my collection. And I love Ivy's story, and I particularly feel like my Ivy is one of the cutest dolls. In fact, actually, I think all Ivies are the cutest. I've never seen a bad picture of an Ivy doll. She just always is adorable in every picture I've ever seen of her, and every Ivy doll I've ever seen in someone else's collection. I'm like, oh, she's cute too. So Ivy is just hands down a great doll to have. Next up, we have Courtney Moore, who's the 1980s girl. And though I was a child in the 1970s, I was a teenager in the 1980s. That's simple math, I guess. But anyway, so Courtney represents kind of those teenage years and that fashion sense. I do love so much of the fashion from Courtney. These boots here, I remember buying boots similar to these, not the exact same ones. Mine were black, but they're white. But I wore those boots way past them being fashionable because I had spent my very hard-earned money on those boots myself because my mother thought they were ridiculous. So anyway, I do love Courtney and the layered look. Like, that's one of those things too that I feel like they got really great dead on with Courtney. Is I never left the house in the 80s without at least 2 layers on. Next up, we have the Hoffman twins, Isabel and Nikki, and they're from 1999. And though they don't exactly line up with what my daughter's age would have been at that time, they do kind of represent the portion that I will use to tell her stories. So I do love the fashions from the Hoffman twins. I was teasing my daughter the other day. I'm like, this is the stuff you wanted to wear, and this is the stuff I wanted you to wear. And so we kind of thought that was a little fun giggle over that. So anyway, so the Hoffman twins are part of that collection, and I will say they have not gotten enough time from me, so I will be definitely rectifying that. So I'm going to start with Arlo, and Arlo was a Julie doll that I customized, and really the only thing I've done to customize him is I just changed out his wig. I probably should do a little bit more to make him look a little more boyish, but I feel like he is who he is. I just love this doll. I don't have any reason I can give you other than I just personally feel like he's just got a very sweet personality, and he's very special to me because he was the first doll I ever customized by myself. Next up, I have Winnie, and Winnie is my mini-me. She was a Caroline doll that I customized, and once again, didn't do a whole lot of customization, just put a new wig on. So I feel like her eye color matches my eye color the best, and so I named her Winnie because I'm Wanda. She's my mini-me, so she's just Winnie. Okay, so next we have a customization of mine, and this is originally an Addie doll, and I have rewigged her, and I have named her Shirley, and she is going to be part of my storytelling with diversity and civil rights. So I made her this little outfit because it is very 70s to me, and I just love the fact that I will have a civil rights fighter besides Melody in my collection. I don't think we have enough civil rights fighters, so but I do love Shirley. And now we have River, and River was not a custom doll by me, but he came custom. I purchased him from eBay, and I'm not really sure how I ever found him as I look back on it, but I saw him one night, just felt like I needed to have him part of my collection. It was very early on in my collecting days, and so I do have River, and I believe he was a Just Like You, no, I'm sorry, he was an American Girl of Today doll. He just have a Pleasant Company stamp on his neck, but he is... I feel like River is essential into my collection. He is that one boy that doesn't know the word no and thinks that he is smarter than everybody else in the room. So that's River. So the next category I call contemporary characters. So they're not a historical doll. They're not a create your own doll. They are not a custom doll by me. They are not a girl of the year. So I just call them contemporary characters. And my first contemporary character is Tenny Grant. So here is Tenny, and she is the very first doll I got. And I received her as a gift from my spouse in 2017, that December. And she kicked off me collecting American Girl dolls. And I think it's really super special that my spouse did that he purchased her from Kohl's and said, hey, I know this is something you always wanted to do, and I want to encourage you to do that. And so with Tenny Grant, it kicked off this odyssey that I have been on. So I will always have I will always have this Tenny in my collection. She is so sweet and I love her so much, and I can't even tell you the joy that this doll brings to me. So Tenny will always be special. Next, I have Everett Logan, and he is the only doll I ever purchased from, well, and I shouldn't say I ever purchased, because he was also a gift from my spouse, the Happy Helper, in the summer of 2018. So we were at the American Girl Doll place in Denver, and he surprised me by purchasing Logan for me. So Logan will be special because he is part of the Tenny collection. He was purchased by my spouse, and I just have a big soft spot for Logan, because he did get a lot of hate because of the whole Tenny year. So anyway, Logan is here to stay too. Next up, we have Maritza, and she was purchased from the Dallas store in 2022. The friend that actually had given me Kit had come out to visit me, and she and I drove down to Dallas together and met up with some other friends down there, and I had purchased Maritza there. And she and I spent a lot of time picking out a good Maritza for me, because for some reason I was convinced that Maritza I couldn't find the Maritza that I loved. And so I'm normally not super picky about dolls, but this Maritza doll, for some reason, on that particular trip, had me taking out every Maritza doll in the store to purchase her. So I do love my Maritza. She is a beautiful doll, and has that memory of that Dallas trip with my friend. Next up is I have Maritza, and she was purchased from the Dallas store, and I'm trying to I'm sure it was 2021 when I purchased her. So so she was purchased down there on a trip that I had went on a major spending spree, and purchased her. So this is my Maritza doll, and I don't think I've ever seen a Maritza doll that isn't absolutely gorgeous. I will say I messed up her hair a little bit though, because I had decided that I would take her to the Chicago store the one time I'd been there as an adult. Well, I've always been there as an adult, I'm sorry, but the one time I went as an adult collector. So so Maritza is special in that way, because she did get to go on that trip, and I did mess up her hair a little bit. So but next up is we have McKenna Williams, and she was also purchased on the Dallas trip, and I love everything about this doll. I love her skin color, I love her hair, I love her story. Her story is one that I almost feel like needs to be mandatory reading. It is heartbreaking to me in so many places. So I love McKenna, and definitely very special doll. And I really have wished that they would have continued with this series, just because I feel like there are so many stories that we need to still tell. But definitely I love McKenna, and I can't see my collection without her. And this is the ballerina doll from Costco. I don't have her in the ballerina costume because I was working on something else and I had her in this outfit. And as I was filming this video, I decided not to change her into the ballerina outfit for just this video. So she doesn't have a number because she's not a Just Like You. And it's because of the wig is different on this doll. But she's very cute. And in my collection, her name is Clara Carter, and that is because she will be a character that I will use in some other storytelling from in the Wayback Machine. So not even just in my own mother's time, from the dolls from my mother to my daughter. She won't be part of that series, but she'll be a special doll in another series of storytelling. And we have Barbie is part of my contemporary characters. So Barbie was a doll that I struggled to buy, in the fact of, would I buy a Barbie because she was going to be a collector doll, and I wasn't going to be a collector who kept all my dolls in boxes, and she was expensive, and you had to wait a year to get her, which you really had to wait a year. I was somehow of disbelief that would actually be a whole year, but it was a whole year. So I do have Barbie. She came in November of 2024, and then it took me a couple months to even unbox her because of the fact of, I was like, oh my goodness, she was a collector doll and she was so expensive, and I can't believe I spent that much money on one single doll. But Barbie is here to stay, I've decided, and she will be my 1950s doll because I do not have a Mary Ellen doll. I don't know if you caught that in the historical dolls. And even though I'm telling stories from the 50s, I don't have a Mary Ellen, but I have a lot of Mary Ellen's collection, and Barbie will be filling in for Mary Ellen in any 1950s stories. So that brings us to the create your own section of my collection. I do have 5 create your owns. I'm very, very lucky to have them. I do have very specific reasons for having the last 4 of them, and I'll go over that as we go through the dolls. But I'm very, very lucky for these 5 little dolls that I own of the Create Your Owns, and I'm really hoping, as I'm recording this in May of 2025, that the Create Your Own line does come back. And it's such a fun thing, and if they could bring back bangs, I would really love that. So just going to put that big hope into the universe. So my very first Create Your Own was not a Create Your Own that I created. So she was purchased in 2019 at the benefit sale. And so that Sunday, where it was so much fun, we were walking around, and my friend that has the very large doll collection, she was there, and she had a very specific list that she was looking through. And so we were there over at that section of the benefit sale, and she was going through what Create Your Owns were left on that Sunday. And so she was going through there, and I was talking to one of the little attendants there, because they're volunteers, and this was a young person in high school. And I said to her, "What's the one doll that's so sad that no one's taken home yet?" And so she went over and she got this box, and she goes, "This one, no one's taken her, and everybody looks at her, but they all pass, and I think she's so cute." And I did have money left in my budget. I'm not really sure how I managed to do that, but anyway, so I did have money left in my budget at that point, and I thought, okay, I have to take her home. So I purchased her, and then that evening, my family lives in Wisconsin, and so I went to stay at a sister's house. And so that night, I had unloaded all of my benefit sale purchases, and my sister and I were going through them, and I was showing her this doll. And I said, "Isn't she cute?" And I said, "I'm not sure what I'm going to name her." And she said, "Oh, I think her name should be Cece." And so I thought that name was so cute, and it fit her. And then it makes it even more special because I have since lost that sister. And so Cece is always in my collection. And if there's a fire, Cece is definitely in my arms, and I'm running out the door with Cece. So Cece and Sage, and there's a few others that I'm going to mention too. But I just love this little doll so much, and she has such special memories for me because my sister named her. Okay, so my Create Your Own that I created for the very first time was this doll here, and this is a doll that has the pixie cut, and I have her dressed right now in the November gemstone set because this doll represents my oldest sister, and her name is Bonnie Jean, and so this is my Bonnie Jean doll. And I purchased Bonnie and the next 3 dolls as tributes to myself and my sisters. I did this in 2022. I'd mentioned that we'd lost my sister in 2021. And just through the grief process and just trying to find a way to just honor and have those memories. And that was the point in time where I had come up with some parameters for my collection. And so I'd really wanted to create your owns, but it was not in my budget. And there was an opportunity at work to earn a bonus. And so I thought, gosh, if I could get that bonus, I could afford to get the 4 Create Your Owns. And I worked really, really hard to do that. But unfortunately, I had earned the bonus and I had the money to buy them, but my budget required me to spend some of it somewhere else. And so I wasn't able to buy all 4 of them at the same time. But I did purchase Bonnie and my Bonnie and Kathy. Oh, goodness. I'm sorry. I purchased Bonnie and Kathy at the same time. And so they did come together, kind of like how they were in life. And so my sister Bonnie is still with us, but my sister Kathy was the one that had passed away in 2021. And so And I think she's the cutest of the four of us. So I do definitely have a very special place for her for so many reasons. So, but I would take all four of them in case of a fire. So, so this is my Kathy doll, and so she is a little bit different. She has the hazel eyes, and then she has the Addie face mold, and very curly hair. And I will put pictures of my sisters and myself in as what we looked like when we were little girls. Well, I will of Bonnie and Kathy and myself. I won't of my sister Susie and um, but I do think I did a pretty good job of matching this all up with what we look like as kids. Next, we have my Susan doll. So this is Susan Marie, and so she is wearing the month of May outfit because that would be her birthday, and I think she's adorable with her red hair and her freckles and her blue eyes. So she's very cute. And last, I have myself as a child. So this is um, Wanda as a child, and my family always calls me Wandy. So this is little Wandy here, and she is in her birthstone month. So I have an April birthday, and so does little Wandy here. Okay, so that wraps up part one, where we have done the historical dolls, the contemporary characters, and the create your owns. I appreciate your time here today. I know I talk a lot and there's a lot of information that I just tend to download on people. I do appreciate that you have spent some of your valuable time with me today. If you could please be so kind to give it a like, a subscribe, share it, and definitely leave a comment because I love to hear from everyone. That's the biggest part of what has continued to inspire me to stay part of this hobby in this community, and it's brought me back into it because I like making friends and I like sharing information. So if you leave me a comment, I am going to reply back to it. Please bear with me. Sometimes it might take me a little bit longer, but I'm trying to be really good about making sure I'm on top of those comments. Anyway, I hope that you find some time to be kind to yourself, find some time to have some creativity, and thanks for spending your time with me today. Bye.